All right. Video number 3, answers by guess, week 6 game by game preview. I'm going to apologize to everybody. I kind of pissed off Nick before the start of this recording. He looks like he's in a better mood all of a sudden, but he was quite angry with me a few seconds
King of the Castle, King of the Castle. Look at me, King of the Castle. What's that from?
I don't know.
Borat.
Oh,
look
yeah.
at me, King of the Castle, King of the Castle. Look at me.
Remember to always follow us on
television.
Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, Patreon. Always look for those hashtags, and remember that we are Fantasy Football's inside scoop from outside the box. Let's go over those bye weeks again real quick. Detroit Lions, Houston Texans, Las Vegas Raiders, and the Tennessee Titans. If they're in your lineup, get them out now.
You know what? We had a reference to Costanza earlier in the year. We're doing the opposite. Whatever. Now I'm feeling like Costanza again. The episode where he had the grapefruit in his eye. I keep messing with my eye, so if I catch you winking at me, it's just a grapefruit.
I love that show. I can watch that show over and over again.
So
it's still so relevant.
So
all right, Arizona Cardinals at the Seattle Seahawks. Arizona was actually in a pretty close game with Philly last week. I still don't understand this team. Connor's out. You were mentioning Eno Benjamin before, talking about starting him over Jonathan Taylor. I like that. I think it actually should be good against the Seattle defense that's just non-existent. Let's talk about that. D-Hop's coming back next week. How does that change the scope? And if D-Hop's obviously sitting out there, you go after him, correct? Mm-hmm. On the flip side, Seattle, Penny's gone. I hope he gets better soon. Walker seems to be the big pickup. You mentioned Walker, probably going to get all the love. I picked up DJ Dallas as a backup just in case. Mm-hmm. I started Lockett this week over McLaurin. Kind of got a feeling, don't know why. I was scared of the offense, I guess, more for the Thursday game compared to this. Hopefully should be a very high-scoring game as we've been seeing with Seattle. Let's talk about this game and who are our starters?
I think you could fire up everybody for the most part. I think that, if you've been rolling with Hollywood, might as well continue to roll with them, at least for this one. Rondale Moore looked good last week, catching a bunch of passes. Keep rolling with him. D-Hop's not there yet. When D-Hop comes, the target's going to go down for both those guys. Zach Ertz, you've been rolling with him. Keep rolling with him, especially in this matchup. The rookie's not getting too much burn just yet. Eno Benjamin, we talked about him. Keep rolling with him. And this game has our guesstimator, Rob.
And who may that be?
This guesstimator is built on a couple different things. One, this guy is yet to really play this year. I can't remember if he was injured or not, but he was buried deep because I believe they have Darrell Williams, who I thought was Darrell Henderson. Well, I didn't think that, but I was making the mistake because it's 10 o'clock p.m. and Eastern Standard Time, and I'm getting tired and my eyes twitching. But Darrell Williams out. Another back. Can't think of the name, but he's out. And
is it Corey Clement? Is it Clement?
No, Clement's not who I was thinking of.
Oh.
Connor's out. And these guys, they have a game on Thursday. And there's something that I've kind of been noticing. And this is interesting. If you take the time to watch our recorded videos, this is good for you. And Rob, because you do this with me, this is good for you. Going forward, we'll see if this continues. But when teams are having a game on Thursday, they typically will hold back a player like on Sunday, because they know they have a game in 4 days and they want them to be fresh and ready. And I think that's what kind of happened last week. I know he was coming back from gunshots, but Brian Robinson, I feel like they held him back a little bit last week. This is just get him warmed up, and then they unleashed him on Thursday night. They said, we got a game, and then we got a game 4 days later. Let's not burn him out too much. I feel like, and it's happened this year in these games. You go back and you take a look. I've noticed each and every one of them. It's been a player. It's been a little iffy on Sunday. They can hold them back because they got a game on Thursday. And I feel like Connor maybe could have gone, but because they have a game Thursday, they want to just hold him back and say maybe he'll be able to play Thursday. And also, Eno Benjamin is the big smash that we're all going after because Seattle defense, they can't stop anybody. But Eno Benjamin has never really been, for either chance or their choice, a workhorse. And if Connor isn't ready to go Thursday, they need someone else to take a little bit off of Eno's plate this week. That's where our guesstimator comes into play. Keontae Ingram. Dude's a rookie, very solid running back. As I said, was buried on the depth chart. But I do think that Eno Benjamin's in a great spot, so much that I might play him myself over Jonathan Taylor, because I feel like I'd rather not risk that re-injury with Taylor, and Eno's in such a good spot. But I don't think that he's going to be a 3-down, 100% snaps. He's going to have to share it with somebody. And because they're playing Seattle, who cannot stop anybody, this guy has been waiting for a chance. He's got 3 injuries in front of him. They're going to give him the ball. I see him getting minimum 20% of the snaps. Eno will see a maximum of 80, which will be enough for him to smash if he breaks it. But this guy's a name that you will see after week 6 on all the websites that you look on when you do a Google search and they talk about week 7 waiver wire pickups. And just like Frank Ross said, I posted in the group, kudos to you, thanks for the props. It's funny to hear about players that you told me about weeks ago. Here it is. I'm telling you about a player. Connor has a long injury history. Eno Benjamin is not a workhorse back. They're going to need to take a little. So if you missed on Eno and you're in dire need of a running back, I'd rather take a shot with him over DJ Dallas. I'd rather take a shot with him over Joshua Kelly. I'd rather take a shot with him over even Nyheim Hines this week because he didn't look good getting up from that hit. And Deion Jackson was somebody. I'd rather take a shot with Keontae because I feel like he's going to get a ton of burn. He's got a ton of juice. He's been fighting, waiting, and this is just the cakiest of cake matchups. If they were playing San Francisco, he would not be the guesstimate. He'd still be getting 20% in my estimation minimum, but I wouldn't put his name out there. But he's going to do something in this game that is going to make the fantasy professionals tell you to pick him up. Do it now. Pick him up now. If he does really well, you have him. This is what the guesstimator is. We say it every week. If he does really well, you have him. You can trade him, or you can see how his workload, his role goes next week. If he sucks, you can cut him. Keontae Ingram, your week 6 guesstimator. As far as Seattle goes, DJ Dale's fine play. You're obviously playing Walker. DK Metcalf, yes. Tyler Lockett, Rob, I think you are 100% fine playing him. Kyler Murray's going to finally do something. Finally, because of his matchup. Finally, he's going to run. He's going to throw. And because of that, Geno Smith's going to have to continue to do what he's been doing. I'm not touching Will Disley, though. I didn't want to fall into that trap last week. People fell into that trap. So I'm not doing it. Fant is still there. Parkinson's still there. I don't want anything to do with the tight ends. It's the 2 wide receivers, the 2 running backs, and that's about it.
All right, let's go on to the next one here. Buffalo Bills at the Kansas City Chiefs. The rematch from last year, the coin flip. Let's talk about Buffalo. They beat up on Pittsburgh pretty well, like you mentioned. Big plays right away. They got big. Ian McKenzie's coming back. Shakir got the touchdown last week. He actually looked pretty good. There's a lot of good players that they can use. Are we okay with a McKenzie Shakir? Like, who's the guy? Is it going to become McKenzie again? Does Gabe Davis go away? Who do you think will actually be good wide receiver starts from the Bills? And Singletary, it seems to be the only running back that's viable on that team. On the flip side, CEH still scoring on a daily, but again, his workload isn't big. Pacheco's getting the ball. McKissick's getting the ball. I mean, all these guys, McKinnon or McKissick? McKinnon, sorry, is getting the ball.
Right.
Yeah, it is. Kelsey obviously must start, but are we staying away from the wide receivers for the Chiefs just because we never know who it is?
It's so annoying. But last week it was MVS for the most part. So it's a good time for Juju. We're
going to start the Tampa Bay thing. Well, if it's MVS this week, it's Juju next week.
If I were to pick one of the three, which I would not want to, if you own any of those three, I'd be looking to get rid of them. I don't want the headache. I don't want it. But for some reason, Buffalo's headache is not the same. But Kansas City's headache is the same, probably because they're lesser caliber. But if I had to pick one, Juju, obviously playing Kelsey. Edwards-Helaire could have some tough sledding here. I mean, his sell high might have been last week. I know that McKinnon looked way better last week. Pacheco didn't do too much. They're going to need all hands on deck. So if you have to play any of these guys, and I'm talking even MVS and Hardman, times are tough out there with injuries and with buys. This game's going to be points galore. I feel like no matter what piece you get, you'll get something. He's going to spread the ball around. I mean, Noah Gray catching balls last week. So for me, Kelsey and Juju would be the absolute starts. But if you have to roll with Pacheco, if you have to roll with McKinnon, if you have to roll with Hardman, I'm still waiting for the Sky Moore blow up. He played a ton last week. He just didn't get the targets until later in the game. He got a couple of them on the final drive. So maybe that's what he needs to get going. I still think he's going to be their best wide receiver by the end of the season. He's getting more and more burned each week. So we'll see. Little guy can do a lot of things. He's Tyreek Hill. He's more Tyreek Hill than Hardman, which is crazy. He just hasn't been able to really just do it yet. They haven't let him loose. All the passes are real close, right near the line if you were watching the game. As far as the Bills, Gabe Davis kills the Chiefs every time he plays them. Diggs, okay. Dawson Knox is somebody I'm shying away from. I even traded him in the Dynasty League I'm in, and I sold him kind of cheap just because I feel like he's kind of a one and done. I liked him going into that year. He had a good year. Didn't like him so much. Bills don't really like him too much. They didn't even like him going into last year when he had the great season. They were trying to get another tight end, but it just so happened that he was getting better. I'm not feeling it. Maybe he'll show up and do something, but I'm not feeling it. If you own him, I try and get rid of him. And you asked the question about McKenzie and Shakir. I think the Bills would be smart to split them both. McKenzie gets injured a ton. Shakir has shown he's more than capable. Have a 3-4 split. Split their time. You know, you get McKenzie in for some, you get him out, get Shakir in for some. And I think that's what they do. The coaching staff seems pretty smart. And again, it's going to be all hands on deck. So the running backs. I mean, this is the highest total for a reason. It's one superior defense, one underachieving defense in my mind, two really good offenses. It's going to be back and forth. The kickers are going to be viable. The running backs are going to be viable, but it's going to be so watered down unless it's the four studs. And by that, I'm talking Diggs and Davis, Kelsey, and I do think Juju is the number one in this game.
I got a sneaky DFS. I think they're going to be doubling, tripling Kelsey. You're right. That could give Juju some love. That can give Hardman. That can give MVS. Noah Gray. He likes looking for the tight end Mahomes. If Kelsey's double team, they might go double tight end sets and where your boy Noah Gray may get some love. Yeah. He'll definitely be a cheap option out there for you.
In 2 or 3 years when Kelsey's done, because I think it's going to come fast. He's not close, but it's going to come fast. Like the level he's at right now is I feel like tight ends, they sort of drop real quick when they're done. Antonio Gates dropped real quick. Noah Gray, if he sticks around there, he's going to be playing the second half of Mahomes' career with him. And you're like, remember that guy, Travis Kelce?
Yeah.
Because Noah Gray is good enough to be exactly like Kelce, once he is the guy. I kind of get that feeling. So, like, if you got deep benches in the Dynasty League, he's somebody to grab, and you're never going to use him for about 3 years. Like, honest. I really feel that way about him.
All right, let's go on to the next one here. Sunday Night Football, Dallas Cowboys at the Philadelphia Eagles. Dallas, again, with Cooper Rush, is just a very interesting team. They actually ran the ball pretty good against the Rams last week. It's really a 50-50 split, it seems like, between Pollard and Zeke. Pollard had the big run. That's what kind of gave him his yards. But Zeke has been okay. I mean, they've been giving him the ball. He's actually been doing with it. Obviously, a division game, Sunday Night Football, you're in the spotlight. CD seems like he is going to play. Anybody else we should be looking to start from this team? And if Cooper Rush keeps on winning, is Dak still going to be the quarterback? I would assume once he comes back and he's healthy, he's going to be the one. But on the flip side, A.J. Brown disappeared in the second half. It was Devonta Smith. It was Goddard. Do we kind of see the same situation happening here in Philly with Devonta Smith and A.J. Brown games kind of going back and forth depending on what the defense is giving them? And Dallas defense is pretty good. So is Philly. So could this actually be a low-scoring game compared to the offensive threats that people are kind of thinking?
Yeah, so real quick, because I just want to make sure I have the teams correctly so I can make this point here. Yep, those are the ones. Yeah, so Giants, Commanders, Rams, right? And aside from that, it was the Bucks and the Bengals before that. The Bengals were figuring things out. They lost to the Bucks. So Giants, Commanders, Rams, like that's who Dallas has played the last 3 games and looked ridiculously dominant. They're going against the Eagles. I mean, it's the Giants, the Commanders, and the state that the Rams are in. Their defense is really good. I wouldn't touch them with a 10-foot pole in this one. The offensive line is great. Obviously, that's why Miles Sanders has been killing it. That's why Hurts has been killing it. Can they stop Micah Parsons? Probably not. Can they stop all the elements of the Dallas defense? Probably not. But can they do better than the Giants, the Commanders? I forget even
Rams.
The Rams. Probably not. So I do think that the Cowboys defense is going to give up some points in this one. So it's Sunday night. There's Sunday night magic. Play Devonta. Play A.J. Brown. Play Goddard. Play Miles Sanders. As far as the Cowboys go, they're interesting because CD a little banged up. Yeah, he's probably going to play. Schultz is hurt. I don't think he's going to play. And I think this is going to bring in a blast from the recent past. Mr. Noah Brown. I know Gallup's playing, but and Noah Brown doesn't play tight end.
Schultz is playing, by the way.
But he's still banged up.
He is.
And even his past couple games haven't been too great. I felt like he was somebody who was being way overdrafted. I couldn't believe. I didn't know why it was like that. I mean, maybe because the other one was gone. Who was the other one? They had Schultz and they had the heck was the other guy's name?
I have to look. I know who you're talking about too.
It was
Jarwin.
Yeah, and once Jarwin was gone, it was like, oh, Schultz, and everybody fell in love with Schultz. I don't know. Cooper Rush, maybe he's the difference. Maybe his Dak likes the tight end. I don't know. But I think Noah Brown's going to show back up. I think he's going to show up. You can't use him. There's no reason to. There's got to be somebody that's more viable. But it would not surprise me because the Philly defense is pretty good. And in the secondary, they're going to focus on CD. They're going to try and shut down Gallup. They're going to try and get after the quarterback. And Noah Brown was so trusty for 3 weeks. And once Gallup came back and Schultz was playing again, Noah Brown kind of disappeared. I think he's going to reappear in this one. I think he will end up being if not the top, right there with CD and um, Gallup in this game. Um, you play him if you got him. Like you said, Pollard had that big run last week. I think Zeke is going to struggle against Philly. They're going to need to pass the ball to both of them. I don't know if either one's going to be able to really run against the front of the Eagles. But it's Sunday Night Magic. It's bye weeks. You put them out there. I think if there's one downside in this game, I honestly think it's Schultz. I would not be touching him. And the Eagles usually aren't good against a tight end either, but I wouldn't be touching him. I don't think Rush likes throwing to him. And he's hurt. One knock, he's out.
I think you're right. I think it's the Dak situation. I think Dak is the one that was looking for him. Dak's the one who is kind of giving him the uptick in draft, I think, this year. The fact that Cooper being gone, it was CD and it was Schultz. They didn't know who was going to kind of be after that. So,
no love for my boy Gallup, huh?
Yeah, I don't know. Well, Gallup stays hurt, man. I hate to say it. I mean, yeah, man. All right, last game here. Denver Broncos at the Los Angeles Chargers.
Skip it. It's Russell Wilson. Just skip it.
All right. So, guys, let me get your final no, I'm just joking. Russell Wilson is going to play. He did practice in full today. It's still – I don't know what to think about this team. Javonte going out obviously doesn't help the situation. You're kind of staying away from the running backs. Gordon gets enough volume that you probably should play him. I'm just not – I have Sutton, and I'm always so worried about playing him, which Sutton was one of my top picks this year. Should I be worried against this Chargers defense that hasn't been close to what we thought it was going to be, or at least what I thought it was going to be in the beginning of the year? And then who else can we actually start from the Broncos? On the flip side, I don't know. The Chargers, it was Eckler who had a fantastic game, but it was a really close game with Cleveland. Yeah. I think it was too close for comfort. Mike Williams and Eckler. Am I starting Joshua Kelly? He's being picked up everywhere because he had the touchdown run. I'm not buying into it. I really think he could get some touches, but this Broncos defense is serious, man.
Yeah, the Broncos defense is serious. And listen, 2 weeks ago, Joshua Kelly was nothing to anyone because Sony Michel was getting all the burn over him. It's going to continue in this way. And Isaiah Spiller is still just sitting there, just waiting for his chance as well. It's Monday Night Magic. I get it. If you got nothing better, you might as well have a prayer in the last game of the week. I'm not buying into Joshua Kelly, not against this defense. Eckler's been killing it past 2 weeks. He's the number one RB in fantasy so far in the NFL. Mike Williams, can he do it 2 weeks in a row? We never see Mike Williams do it 2 weeks in a row, and that's a damn shame. Palmer is somebody I'd love to be able to play, but as we talked about, what's-his-face doesn't go away. Keenan Allen might play, but you can't even put him in your lineup because what if something happens and he's not playing? Then you're going to have to pivot and hope Palmer's on the waiver wire or what the heck's his name? Carter, DeAndre Carter. You're going to have to hope. Or KJ Hamler. You know what I mean? And Hamler was open last week for the touchdown. You didn't see him because he needs glasses. Just like the Javonte pass, week 1. But I'm playing Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy. Yes. Dolchich has hopped over Alberto. So everybody was on Alberto. I said in the preseason, I'm not buying it. Albert O was a Drew Lock thing because they were buddies in college. Dolchich is above him at this point. You're not playing him yet either. So it's the two main guys on both sides. And I'm talking Williams and Eckler, and I'm talking Sutton and Jeudy. Gordon is if you must. Palmer is if you must. And if you're super desperate, then you're just going to have to go with Joshua Kelly. I don't like it because I could very well see Sony Michel out-touching him in this game.
Sony Michel kind of is that
I don't like Sony Michel. I wouldn't play him either.
The Broncos run stuff defense, I think, is a lot stronger than the, I guess, outside defense for running. And that's where your Eckler and I think your Sony Michel kind of make more sense. Where Joshua Kelly is going to be, I'm going to try to punch you in the nose. And I think he could score a touchdown if they get close enough. He will be the goal line guy, but you kind of have to hope and wish that that's going to happen.
And don't forget about Everett. He was a little bit of an afterthought last week, I feel like, but he's there.
Against this Broncos defense, he may make sense over the middle and stuff like that. I'm actually in between Everett and Irv Smith. Since you said Irv Smith's going to have 2 touchdowns, I might go with Irv and have I have Kirk Cousins too, so maybe do a double BB banger there, or a double BB banger, if you know what I'm saying. So
yeah, that's a tough one because
it is. I like the Monday night.
That's the only reason.
I have Sutton Monday night too, though, so it's kind of like I could start 2 Monday nighters. I don't mind it. I actually probably prefer it because it gives me more hopes and wishes if I am down. But
if this game was 4:00 on Sunday, I'd be like Irv Smith.
Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly.
But because it's Monday, I'm like, maybe you should go with Everett.
And Herbert's healthier. You could see Herbert's moving better. Eckler is taking that off of him now, too, that he has to make the big play. If Keenan Allen does play, I know you're saying you kind of have to be iffy on it. That makes a whole difference for this team, though, because it's somebody that Denver has to focus on. That's the big play on it. He's going to be a decoy. We saw it happen with Hopkins all the time. When Hopkins, he's on the field, they have to look at him because he still can do things. So
100%.
All right. Let's get your final thoughts there, sir.
We'll make it quick. We made it this far. We made it to the buys. This is when it gets fun. We had said it last week that this is when it gets fun because the buys are coming. Well, now the buys are here. I'm going to focus on a comment that was made in the ABG chat. People questioning of how are all these pickups being made? Right? Every time I look at the waiver wire, all I see is a bunch of bums. Well, if you're in 14-man leagues, which is the type of league I prefer, I'm in 6 leagues. 3 are 14. 3 or 14, 2 or 12, and 1 is 10. My least favorite league is the 10-man league because there's always like 30 guys out there that I just wish I could pick up. My 12-man leagues, there's probably about 15 to 20. My 14-man leagues, there's always 10 guys I want to grab. So if you're out there and you're looking at the waiver wire and you're not seeing anything, you got to look harder. You can't look on the surface. You can't look at points they've scored. You can't look at what team they're on, if they've played or if they haven't played. Project. Look ahead. I mentioned on the Tuesday show, I mentioned it last week on the big show. You got buys this week. So does everybody else. Guess what? You and them, they got buys next week. Start looking to fill those now. And I think somebody even in the AB chat mentioned that. They mirrored exactly what I said last week on the big show. You should be prepping for your week 7 buys now. Because those guys that you might want to use next week, they probably won't be there, or you're competing with 9, 11, 13 other people. Get them now when no one's looking for them. If they suck, peace. If they're good, so are you.
I don't mean to chime in on your thing, but by week 7, Buffalo Bills, Los Angeles Rams, Minnesota Vikings, Philadelphia Eagles. Think about how many players from those 4 teams are in your lineup on a weekly basis. Think about it. I like it. All right, guys. Remember, always like us and follow us on Facebook. Subscribe on YouTube. Look for us on TikTok, Twitter, Patreon. Always look for those hashtags, answers by guests and ABGFF. Guests, I wish you good luck and good morrow. Let's see. Bye weeks make it, like you said, a lot more fun.
Yeah. Levels the playing field to a degree.
Yeah, especially if you have a team that's stud-filled. I mean, the bye weeks make such a huge difference. I know one of our teams in Dynasty has like 6 Buffalo Bills. Next week is not going to be a good week for them, more than likely. So,
Nope.
All right, guys.
All right.
Deuces.
Yep.